And we're back with me, Johnny McMurray, on the On the Spot Football Podcast with another special guest, a good friend, and also an ex-referee, Andrew Davey. How are we?
They call him anything but an ex-friend. We'll go with ex-friend and not ex-referee, will we?
Can't if you want. I'm only saying that now because
we weren't friends there.
We're potentially not in the game anymore. Do you know what I mean? How's things?
All good, Johnny. All good. Yeah, all good. Loving life as much as I can do. Off the side.
Well, listen, thank you for coming on. That's the first and foremost thing. I want to do different guests with different opinions on football from different walks of life type thing within the game, obviously. And I think that refereeing's a huge thing at the moment. The criticism, the journey, probably from start to finish, how refereeing's going at the minute and where it's potentially going to go. And you're the man in charge at the minute.
Well, as long as we're not talking about football, because I was a referee, I don't know much about football. I'll tell you as much about the refereeing side of it as I can, but yeah, no football talk.
Okay, well, we'll get to that stage, but initially I want to kind of touch on you as Andrew Davey. Obviously, we want to get out there that people know who you are and what you do and how you've kind of came to becoming a referee first and foremost, and obviously where you are now. So, did you play sport? Did you always have a whistle in your mouth from a young age, or...?
I was the one running around the playground trying to referee games. No, I was a field player, and there's no point in saying that. I always played football. Football was the sport that I loved. It was always the one that in the streets playing growing up. I played right the way until I was 24, 25, but at no great level. Amateur league, a wee bit of sort of down area league in the Bangor direction, but nothing to any great level. Which is why then I picked up the whistle. Okay. So no, listen, the journey started. I played and refereed for a while. So I was playing in a club in Bangor, Bransburn, and a fellow was running a free course for refereeing through some sort of funding that he had. And he offered some of the ones on the team if they wanted to go and do it. For me at that time, it was like a CV builder. I'll go and get this. It'll be something I'll never use. I was going to say it's a bit like yourself. I was probably, when I was playing, I was giving more grip, more grief to referees than I was actually helping them in any way.
That was going to be my next question. How many times did you abuse a referee before you decided to pick it up?
This is the problem. Whenever I played, the amount of times I wasn't great, and I was sort of midfield or in the back, and I was just kicking people, and then I was just giving grief, and I
done that from the front as well, so I didn't have to worry about that.
I wasn't going to say that, but no. So I give as much to referees as I probably take when I was refereeing, but I went and done the course and thought actually it was all right. It was 8 weeks at the time. It was 8 Wednesday nights. We had to go and sit in the room, and this was the time before PowerPoint presentations, before clips. We sat with the laws of the game book and went through it. I'd done the course. Everything went okay. And then started refereeing some kids' games in the morning while I was still then going in the afternoon and playing for the Bransburn at the time. I'd done that for a month or two. And then it was November time, I'd done the course. It came to sort of January time. I'd never had good knees, good ankles, always
injured.
Always something wrong with them. It was just always like a balloon.
That's why you couldn't keep up a play half the time then.
Thanks very much, Johnny. Is that us finished, yeah? So injuries, bad, and always so. So I thought when it came to January, what I'll do, I'll go and actually try refereeing some adult games. And I must give great credit to Jimmy Fagan from the Down Area League, who's still the referee appointer down there. Right. He took me under his wing, gave me a game in Groomsport, close to home, for the first game. And I went and done Groomsport thirds against somebody in Groomsport. And I actually quite liked it, quite enjoyed it. Done that for 6 months, came sort of towards the end of the season. Done Down Area League, I was doing okay. In my eyes, I was doing okay. Kids games in the morning, some afternoon games. And I thought to myself, people got me here. People started talking about going and playing again. People started talking about going back and actually getting... The problem being at the start is, when you are refereeing, you're by yourself. So you've no team changing room before a game. You've no banter, you've no crack, you've nothing. It's just you. And then sometimes people shout at you during the game, only sometimes. But you get a wee bit of grief during it. So sometimes you're wondering yourself, is it really worth it?
A couple of parents sticking the nose in, shouting, refereeing from the sideline.
More than a couple most of the time, but yeah, normally. So, listen, I've done that. I thought to myself, I'm going to go back and play. And then again, Jimmy Fagan, from the Down Area League, told me not to be stupid. He says, it actually had some compliments about how you were doing and you were actually getting good reviews. I then spoke to another person I worked with who was refereeing. You probably don't know whether you remember Hugh Carville, the referee. Okay, he was a Premiership referee at the time, and I worked with him in insurance at the time. And he said, I said to him, listen, I'm going back then. And he said, no, stick at it. He said, there's great opportunities, there's great things here. It's thriving, stick at it. And I did. And that was in 2006. I went back then that season, started again, and now 2025, I'm still not refereeing anymore, but still full-time job in refereeing, and I'm sort of taking a bit
from the game.
I'm off the field of play, but I'm massively involved in what's sort of happening behind the scenes.
Incredible. So when we look back at things, because I can only reiterate it from my own previous experiences, that at a referee at that age on a wet or a Saturday morning, say 9:30 kick-off or Lisburn League or whatever it may be, they're the guys just really standing there after an hour, rapping the door, being like cash in hand out the door. And is that still the same process? And also, not to jump in here, but there was never any linesmen at that stage. So whenever you say by yourself, it's just you.
It is. You get the odd club referee, a club assistant who points one way, one half.
The two flags.
And it points one way, one half, and then the wind changes second half, and they start attacking the other way, and then all of a sudden, every wind goes their way. It is just you by yourself, and especially in the kids' games. Kids' games are probably where most of the problems come. And again, unfortunately, it's like you said, it's not even the coaches sometimes, it's not even the players. It's the parents on the sidelines giving most grief to the referee, and feel that they can give grief just because their under 10, under 11 game is their FA Cup final every morning.
Yeah.
And you're ruining kids' weekends, you're ruining that, you're ruining this.
Our wee Lionel Messi's the best player in the world.
These kids have cried for 2 weeks because you haven't given that penalty, and they have not got those 3 points that would have taken them second in the league.
Tough love, isn't it?
It's a hard life for some kids. But it is, and it's a lonely, at the start it is, when you're doing those kids' games, majority of them, there's a lot of horror stories out there when it comes to referees. I, touch wood, never had any real bad problems. It's because I was so good. No, I never really had any great issues. And that's probably one of the reasons why I ended up staying and going as far as I did, because it sounds quite strange. I enjoyed it. Right. I enjoy going on the field of play. I enjoy going on, whether it be a kids game in the morning, whether it be an adult game in the afternoon. I enjoyed going out. You were still part of the game. You weren't playing, but you were still going out and you were still involved in the game of football. So that, for me, replaced any enjoyment that I was getting from maybe playing 60 minutes, 70 minutes, or standing on the sideline. You were getting 90 minutes every game. You were guaranteed a game every week. Where it was, you were travelling on different grounds, seeing different people, seeing different players. It was good. And then as you go up, that then increases the travel, increases then seeing different parts of the country when it comes to football. And then obviously you start going through the ranks, you get a wee bit more football. A wee bit more. It depends on where you go.
Also at that stage though, you're probably playing football out of enjoyment. You're probably not being paid.
Yeah.
Maybe you are.
No.
But then also you start refereeing and you're thinking to yourself, like, there's a pathway in this. I'm getting paid from a very young age, from this word go pretty much, probably, well, it's 30 quid, 40 quid, whatever it may be, I don't know, but at least you're getting something, and it gives you something to focus on then. It's not like, well, I'm just turning up, doing a kid's game, getting nothing and going home. I just got abused.
We're at a level, our football in Northern Ireland, there's very few people in Northern Ireland making a living from playing football. Absolutely. There is people being paid, whether it be expenses, whether it be different things at certain levels. So there is a certain amount of people getting paid to play football. But when you look at the numbers playing, a majority are not getting any money from it. The money was always good to have. It was always something that was coming in. It wasn't for me the driving force behind why I'd done everything, because I was then putting a lot more off the field. And the money then, once you start going up, sometimes the money is not in comparison to what you're doing. Yeah. It isn't great. But at the start, the cash in hand and the money comes in for anyone. And that's one of the reasons when we're looking at trying to get kids and trying to get the younger ones involved. You can go and work in a shop and get minimum wage, and you can do 7, 8, 9 hours, and you can get that. Or you can go and work in a bar, you can get grief every night. Or you can go out onto a pitch, get some fresh air, get some exercise. Absolutely. And get some money from that. So it's not saying the money is a driving factor for it all, but if it is an incentive that we can get the younger ones especially to come in and say, listen, we can make some cash. We've got ones that are doing it at the moment who are like saving for cars, saving for car insurance, even those type of things. It's something that can help hopefully incentivize more coming in. But at the start, yeah, it's worth it.
Just to let everybody know here that I do have my level 1
in refereeing.
Jeez. I done it actually.
You refereed many games in a private, sir. Are you trying to referee?
I tried. Most of the time I failed. Do you know what I mean? But
so did I.
I actually done it. We went to BMC, and I think Alan Snoddy put a thing together for us as like we should get out. Everybody should get their level 1 at the time. I don't know, as you say, it might have been a funding opposition where it was there. We can deliver this for the TAC, and this was part of it. And to be fair, I actually enjoyed it because it makes you think. As a player, you're so self-minded. It's like, what can I do? I need to score a goal. I need to do this. And then as a referee, you're trying to focus on 22 people, sidelines, coaches, assistants, whoever it is. And there's a lot to take in when you're playing in a game of football.
It's interesting because when you talk about we still do a lot of that within the association. So we'll go into sort of kids doing B-Techs, kids doing A-levels, and we do... At that stage, everybody's focused on, I'm going to play. So we do a lot of those courses in the hope that we can plant a seed for someone to say, listen, playing doesn't make it after a while. I get injured. Something happens, I'm not going to play anymore. But there might be an opportunity in coaching. And then they go, coaching's not for me. So then you're giving them an opportunity of something else. All we're trying to do is plant the seed in someone's head to say, it's not just playing, it's not just coaching, it's not just management. There also is refereeing, but we still do them. I don't know if we picked too many up from them at times. Obviously, you took a different path. But no, we still do a lot of that to try and give somebody an incentive to say, listen, it's not just about that. And we need the ones, we talk about pathways and stuff. If we can get some of our referees doing such high-level games in Europe and stuff like that, where it gives then the other younger ones to come in and say, listen, there's a pathway of not just here, but in Europe for us to go and referee.
Absolutely, and as you say, there's a very small percentage of people who actually do make a living. I've been fortunate enough to have that, and that's great. But on the other side of things, it was always something that I'd spoke to you about, especially in the last couple of years come to the end, and we had spoke at length pretty much about what do you want to do. You pretty much told me to retire 3 or 4 years ago.
And you were still playing.
I was still trying to kick a bucket here. And then we had talked about what we're going to do in different programs and stuff, which we will get to at the end. But it's not I was going to say entertaining. It's more interesting as a player to think you're not actually done at 32, 33, 34. And most players should actually switch the mindset to being like, I can stay in the game. Now, there's very minimal jobs of coaching or managing. And to get one of those, you have to be really good. But you also have a pathway to start potentially not as low as a Saturday league at 9:30 a.m. with the kids. Whereas you know the rules of the game, you can go in.
It's amazing. It's laws of the game, by the way. It's only laws. Sorry. But no, it is, and you've got to understand that people who have played at that level have an understanding. Probably sometimes have more of a general understanding of the game. Maybe not the in-depth knowledge of the laws, but they have more of an understanding and more of a feel for the game. At that age, if people are playing at a certain level, they have a real good understanding of. We talk about there is the laws of the game, but we also talk about common sense at times. I know you probably think it doesn't get used that much in refereeing.
You mean?
But we talk about using common sense. The laws of the game talks about the spirit of the game. So players who have played and have been around the game may not know the laws in depth, but will have more of a general understanding or a feel for
a greater knowledge of being through it.
It's not always about giving fouls, and it's refereeing. It's a difficult sport, the refereeing, because everyone's got an opinion on it.
Yeah,
everyone's got an opinion. So what everyone thinks is a free kick may be different, but sometimes giving a free kick at the right time of a game is important. And somebody who has played the game can also understand when the temperature or the
settle it.
I need to bring it down. And someone who's played there and who can actually have an understanding of being involved in the top games in the country will have an understanding of this needs to be killed. I need to stop it, or I can let it flow. Everything's going okay. But somebody who has a real feel for the game, who's played at the top level, will hopefully be able to bring that side into refereeing. And then we can sort of teach them the laws of the game that they thought they knew when they played.
No, that's a big word there. Emphasis on thought.
What did they thought they knew and realise that, hold on a second, they were actually right when they told me that.
Because I always remember, because you have to come around pretty much and describe the laws of the game, the clubs before what happens, and you go through the different clips. And the clips are, lads, what do you think? Say this happened in the Bundesliga and it was somebody 2 foot and somebody, and boys are like, dead on.
Northern Ireland, that's all right.
It's fine. And then you're like, well, no, this is why. And then getting that better range. But then it comes to Saturdays, and it's still people then have their own opinions. That was very similar to this, and that wasn't given. And it's full of criticism for
You
it.
told us on Tuesday night that was a free
Exactly.
kick. You came in and said that was a free kick.
You showed us a video.
You remember? I just done that too, footed exactly the same way that video done. It's one of the bits I really enjoyed, as I don't do as much of the sort of the courses and those type of things now because of the change in rules. But one of those, doing the licensing, when you were doing your A license, B license, or you were doing some of those, there's a referee module on it, and you went in and showing some clips, or you went to the clubs and you showed clips, or you go into a different, sometimes clubs would bring their own coaches in, just random clubs throughout the country will ask for like a laws of the game. Going in and speaking to those type of people, the coaches, the players who are still involved in the game,
Yeah.
and actually educating them a wee bit. I always laugh because I always say when you're doing those, the problem is I'm giving you more educated ammunition to shout at a referee. Because I'm telling you what the laws of the game are. I'm telling you the terminology. So whenever it comes on a Saturday, what you're going to turn around and shout, Andrew Davey said this. That's why that's a free kick. But those, because you got a bit more, when people are doing beginners courses, they'll sit and they'll listen and they'll go, yeah, this is what it is. That's okay. But when you go into those players, coaches, managers, they all have an opinion. They all have what I think is right, what I think it is. And then when you start educating and start bringing them around, it's more of a healthy debate, shall we say, about the decisions, about educating to say, no, this is what we're looking for in a tackle, this is what we have. They always still think they're right, but you're trying to educate a wee bit. But they were the most enjoyable. I love doing those.
So see, whenever we look at like games and stuff, say we compare a referee who's just starting off, the likes of yourself, would they get the same educational route?
Okay. So everyone does one course at the start. All right, so it's not like your coaching badges where you've got your level 1, your A, your B, your C, and your pro license. It doesn't go that way. We don't do it that way. You have one beginner's course.
How to blow a whistle. Yellow card.
Yeah. Commission for the yellow card's good as well. We just do one course. That's it's basically you do. Everyone who has ever refereed at any level in Northern Ireland does the one beginner's course. It's then on the job learning. Because there's only so much you can tell people in a room. It's only when you go out and things happen that you actually then start to learn a wee bit more and you start to get a wee bit more education about things. So you do that, and then it's basically, there's monthly meetings in different areas. We're trying to come in now with a learning management system because our top guys, the top 3 panels, the Championship, PIL and the Premiership, they get monthly meetings. They get monthly education on the laws of the game, on clips, what we're looking for, what we're trying to do. But the rest have to go to their own divisional association meetings once a month, and it's whether they want to go or not. So a learning management system is what we need to get, and we're working on it at the moment, so they can go online and get more education, which will then hopefully open up for better referees.
Okay.
But that's what we need to get, because we're probably not educating the grassroots, the lower down referees as much as they need. They need more education. To be honest with you, if you look at it, they're the ones probably getting more.
Well, this is what I was going to get to. I'm starting to think now, if you're telling me that at a younger age, if you're starting off and you're at these games where the parents and all these people are able to abuse you and you're by yourself, that's an isolating place, never being in front of fans.
So,
and the parents are on that white line.
Sometimes they come over it, just the odd
well, sometimes they do.
Sometimes they come across the white line.
Videos out there at the minute, but we're not going to that.
So, and so we need to educate those ones. Our ones at the top, and we'll always talk, because we talk about not touching players. In Premiership, I probably would have got in if you were I would have pulled people apart. Yeah. But that's because you're at that level a wee bit more disciplined, not to turn around and hit me.
Well,
depending on the player. We'll not mention names. So at junior level, you are by yourself. So we've different things to try and help. We've got regional development squads. So we've got some people who want to come in and want to learn and want to educate. So they can go to those meetings once a month and get a wee bit more education. Some of them will have a mentor. A lot of the time, it's hard to get somebody who's a mentor outside of somebody who's not refereeing. Okay. So it'll be someone to pick up the phone to on a Saturday night and say, listen, this happened. What did I do? This happened. What should I have done? So with the regional development squads, we've then got a national referee academy for the younger, not that using younger ones anymore, terminology. We've got a national referee academy for the junior. Okay. All right. So it's one's a game where we're ones that we see that can make it through the ranks, probably at what we're talking about, a fast track. So ones that we see to have potential, that we can hopefully put a bit more focus on, then to push them from the National Referee Academy at the junior level into our talent and mentor program at the intermediate level, and then obviously push them up from intermediate into the third division, PIL, Championship, Premiership. So we try to identify those ones early on. But then again, they're the ones who we identify or we see are the ones getting the education. So there's then another.
Because you can't really expand resources for everyone. Like, not everybody's obviously going to cut the mustard at the end of the day.
Surprised I did, but I got there. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
No, they're not. So we're trying to go, we need to open it up. Not everyone wants to travel. COVID, and we all talk about COVID. Nobody wants to do all that travel and sit in meetings. A lot of people now want things online. So that learning management system that we're trying to get up will give more education to more referees so that they can then see the changes in the laws of the game. They can then go and look at different incentives from UEFA that are sending out, this is what we expect from referees. So we need to get that so we can open up the pool to say, listen, there's more education. Go and watch these clips, go and look at this. Try and find as much education as we can to the ones who aren't at meetings or in different things.
So if we look at that younger age group, sorry, just to stay on this, because it's interesting to me, because
you're too old.
There's a lot of there's a lot of people, right, who ultimately probably aren't going to actually get out of that stage. So for me, I'm thinking, there's always a mass need of referees and the progress referees to get to the top level. But if I was in something and I didn't see a progression, or I didn't see me actually moving upwards because I just ultimately aren't good enough, surely they're going to drop off. And then you're kind of losing something.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like 50-50 side of things there.
You'll have also understand it from players who come in, expect everything given, expect this, expect to play every week, expect this, and maybe don't cut the mustard, maybe don't make it to the top, but expect everything given. And we do have that in referees. What we have to be careful of as well, we don't want to say everyone has to go through the pathway. Because we'll get someone who comes in and just wants to referee kids' games because that's where they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
They feel comfortable doing kids' games. Kids' games need covered. That's great.
Yeah.
We've got some who come into junior football who maybe live Ballymena Saturday morning league, live local, just want to go out on a Saturday morning, do a game and come home.
Yeah.
That's grand. We need to have, there's a core. Yes. We need to have that core of people who are willing just to go and cover their local games. It's not a massive, yes, we do have to identify ones who we see are going to be the next FIFA badge holders, who are next European referees. And we're looking at that, not just the year, whenever we're looking for the year before, we need a FIFA referee where we're going to find one. Yeah. So we're looking at now for the next 5, 6, 7 years of where we see that potential coming from. But there's also a core group out there of junior and intermediate referees that just love the game. You've got ones there there's one up in the northwest, he's 92. Still goes out and referees. Just goes out and referees. Just loves refereeing. So that's the ones that we need to
probably can't hear them abusing him, by the way. He's probably just standing.
So he says all well.
Kind of looking around going like, somebody's shouting there.
So when he brings the dog on the pitch as well, that's the problem.
he can't see. Was it in?
So we need a core. We need to sort of different pathways for different people. We need to understand that, yes, some just want to do this, but we still need to give them some sort of education to say this is what you should be doing. But we also then need to identify the cream there that we then need to look to say this is our potential referee, put a wee bit of focus. The way the academies do, the way you go in the academies, and academies will get players who will see that they can push through the ranks, and that's the ones that they focus on. But
you do have to ultimately focus on them,
And that's what we'll try and do. So yes, we have the core that we're looking to try and get up, but we have the core group of referees at junior and intermediate level where we say, go and do it. They're doing a great job as it is. Just continue what you're doing.
So over the whole of Northern Ireland, how many referees do we have?
We're getting close. I think we're at last count was about 870, 880 referees throughout Northern Ireland. Right. Now,
that's 870 people I haven't abused.
No, there's about 7 that you haven't abused probably. So we have them, the numbers are growing. Now they're registered referees. It doesn't say they're refereeing every week.
Yeah.
I hate bringing it up, COVID. People got other interests over COVID, so availability isn't as great. They're all self-employed people, so they don't have to be available every week.
Yeah.
At every level, self-employed, so they pick and choose when they want the referee. We need about 1,000 referees, roughly, active on a Saturday. And that's another problem of ours. For some reason, we like to play every football match a Saturday at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, everybody wants the same time.
Everybody wants the same time. And getting that changed to get other referees in different games. So we need about 1,000 to cover every game in Northern Ireland. We have a referee development officer, Tony Sharkey, who's there trying to get that number over the next 3 years to try and get up to that 1,000. We've done a couple of recruitment drives over the last few months to try and we've got an extra, I think, close to 100 referees registered in the last few months to try and get that core number up.
Yep.
But it's just making, the more we get means you've got that referee focused on one game every Saturday, and then that means we'll get more games covered and more games played.
Because there's always so many teams. When you look at different academies now, they have red, blue, green, pink, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's 4 teams at the one age group classified on ability, and then you're like, all these kids need to be looked after. And when you consider back to whenever I was a kid playing, it just didn't seem like there was that amount of kids.
The amount of football that's happening, especially youth level, like you say, each team has every one's even at 11 side probably have 2 teams at every age group to go down. So they need games refereed, and that's why I'm saying some referees will just youth football, that's all I want to do. And we can't say, no, you can't do that, you must do adult games, because they need covered as much as anything else. It's getting that transition from referees from youth football into adult football, which is the problem that we have. And that's where we struggle the most. We've got a lot of people want to do youth games. A lot of it's maybe less hassle, it's maybe less
intimidating.
There's not 22 men shouting at you, 22 women shouting at you on the pitch. So yes, less intimidating on the pitch, and it's easier to manage. So people will just come in and just want to do that. That's okay if that's what you want to do, but trying to get them to go from that in the adult football is the hardest part that we have. A lot of times we run courses, most are wanting to go into youth football and try there before they go anywhere else. But trying to get them into adult football, because you've got idiots like yourself that just want to shout at them all the time. But no, you've got...
You know what, fair.
I'm not lying.
No. Yeah, well, you got me.
So, no, it's transition in from youth to adult is where we find our biggest problem, and trying to get people who want to come into the adult football. And unfortunately,
is that like 15, 16, under 16, or what?
Under 18s is under 18s is junior football, is youth football. And I think sometimes if you look at it, the likes of the reserve leagues, some of the reserve leagues are 19s, 20s and things like that there. So they technically fall underneath into youth football. It's the intimidation factor. And if you look at the abuse factor, yes, there's a lot of verbal abuse probably at youth level. There's a lot of that sort of shouting at the pitch and shouting and intimidation there. Unfortunately, when you go into adult football, there's been a few occasions where it's went from verbal into physical abuse.
Yeah.
And that's then, unfortunately, it doesn't happen that often. It's very, very rare that it does, but then it's publicised. Yeah. And then it's out there. And that's what then people are then scared of when it goes from the youth to the adult. It doesn't happen that often, but
it still has.
It still happens, and that's the problem. So trying to get them in the adult football is where we struggle, but we're working on it.
So at what level would you then start introducing linesmen and fourth officials?
We don't get that. So at the moment, the top 3 divisions are the only ones that have assistant referees.
So that's Premiership, Championship, and the Intermediate League.
PIL, yeah. So they're the only ones with assistant referees. Up until that stage, we got the likes of the Intermediate League, so sort of the
Ballymena League.
Ballymena Professional. They've got the Amateur League, Mid-Ulster League. They operate by themselves. And junior football operate most of the time by themselves, until it comes to cup semi-finals and cup finals. Then they'll put assistant referees in, maybe a fourth official. But then that's other referees in that league going in and trying to do assistant refereeing, and it works out okay. Once you get to a stage, you're refereed a few games if you want. For some reason, people like doing assistant referees.
Yeah.
I've done it a couple of times, absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated it.
This is that I was moving on this. But it seems like it has to be one of the worst jobs ever.
You're so close to
the manager as well.
The manager on one side. So it's funny now, when you look at a lot of the dugouts, the home team put themselves behind the assistant referee one, so that they're the ones that can shout and try and get in his ear more than the away team. A couple of times have changed. And you've got, if you look at some of our grounds, look at Carrick.
Yeah, you're right there.
And it's the wall that height trying to stop people getting over at you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So assistant refereeing, some people go in. Now we have again, with 8 male FIFA assistant referees who do European games. We have 2 female FIFA assistant referees who go out and do games in Europe with our FIFA referees. So there is a pathway if that's what you want to do. It's a specialist job once you get to the top. So once we get to the 3rd, you can then referee games. If you find refereeing isn't maybe for you, you want to try something else, you can go into assistant refereeing. Okay. And then you can start at the PIL, the 3rd tier, get a few games in there, and then work your way up as a referee would through the ranks, through PIL and the Championship and then the Premiership.
So necessarily it's not a thing that you need to have done to be a fully successful referee. You don't need to be like, well, like I need to do my A license, B license, do my A license to pro. It's not like I need to be a fourth to be a linesman to be.
No, so assistant referees are field referees, just like referees are field players.
That's why you've done it a few times.
So no, it gets to a stage where you're refereeing, and it's funny because there's one of the assistant referees who's a FIFA referee now. He'll tell you he was an awful referee. Right. He went out and refereed a few games, and he was red carding all around him, sending people off, and just couldn't handle a game of football. But see, as an assistant referee, he's probably one of our best ones that we'll have, because it's a different mentality, it's a different way.
Sort of like a mediator, aren't you? You're kind of just.
It's a harder job to try and offsides, like the offsides, trying to find out when the ball, especially at our level, when it's 60, 70 yards played forward, it's not a short pass.
Goalkeeper.
Do you know what I mean? It was just a centre half hitting them forward, trying to figure out when that ball's played to see whether the player's offside. It is a specialist job, and you've got the ones at our top level who are very good at what they do, but it's a specialist job, and it's a specialist way of looking at it, because everyone's all side on. You're not running the same, you're going sideways up and down the line quite a bit. You have to learn. What are you laughing at?
Just sort of, like some of them running, it's wild trying to keep up.
Some of them running, you're making fun of the way they run.
And I only noticed this since I've been on the bench lately. So
for the last few years,
it's killing me.
So, listen, they have to, again, they're working with different referees each week. So different referees, and you'll know from referees in the league, different referees expect different things and will referee in different ways. So they have to adapt to what that referee is, free kicks that they're given, things that they're doing, so that they can then sort of work together with them. So it's a different job. It is a completely different job, and we have specialist people who do it, and it is a credit to those who actually want to do it, because I'd said I'd done it twice and absolutely hated it.
Is there a situation where these people are actually blocked together? Like, can they have the same team? And be like, that's you are going to Ballymena, you are going to Linfield next week.
We try to do it as much as we can in teams, to be honest with you. We tried it, and we still do it sometimes. The problem being is it's availability sometimes. Okay, so people aren't always available every week. It's not like you're on a contract at a club and you have to be training Tuesday, Thursday and here on a Saturday. Injuries as well for some people doesn't work. So we tried, or we still try to keep as many people working together, because our thought is, if you're familiar with a referee and the assistant, you have a bond together, you have a trust in how each other works, then it should make things better. You'll tell me different.
I was going to say, you would think,
You would think it would make things better. Sometimes it makes it worse. We try, but it's availability issues. We try with our FIFA referees, who are the ones who go into Europe and do games. Yeah. We try to keep them together with their assistant referees as much as we can, so that when they go to Europe, then they have that bond with each other. They're able to and that's what you're looking for. So we do try it. You think I just go in there, I had to get a ball, oh, you're going here on Saturday?
I ultimately think that the radios don't work, because it doesn't seem like they actually talk to each other.
They go down in certain occasions. Yeah. There's a big call to be made.
One of the other things that really interests me is the fourth. You're talking about it, I know. The fourth official gets hell.
The fourth is probably one of the hardest jobs.
That has to be.
Because no matter what, you get blamed for what all the other three in the pitch do. Whether it's right or wrong, one bench is shouting at you. One bench is slightly less shouting at you, but one bench is really shouting at you. And then all you got, not even the managers, you get those idiot players that sit behind. They have a go as well.
There's a few. I actually don't do that, to be fair.
I didn't say you did. Why are you getting so defensive?
I do get them. There's a few, like, there is.
It is. Fourth official is hard. And it's funny, because if you're standing watching the game, what you see from your angle can be completely different to what the referee sees from his angle. So you're saying, yes, see from here, it looks like a foul. But from where he is, it doesn't. And he's 10 yards away. So how can I, 40, 50 yards, go, no, that's a foul?
From the middle of the pitch.
And he's standing on the far side of the pitch, away from everybody else, 10 yards from it, and goes, no, it's not. So it is a difficult job. It's a mediator. Probably is sometimes is the best way. It's trying to keep people calm, keep people passive as much as you can. But again, what they're referees. So every fourth official is either a referee in the championship or a referee in the premiership. So what we've tried to do this year with the appointments is try and keep as many premiership referees as fourth officials, because hopefully they have more of an understanding of the refereeing in the premiership and are hopefully able to help out their colleagues more when it comes to that. You're looking at me.
No,
that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
No, well.
No, it doesn't.
It's not, I do get it where you're coming from, but I just, ultimately from thinking about it, I'm like, To be honest, it doesn't seem appealing at all.
The fourth official?
No.
He just got a card not doing that?
No, I wouldn't. I swear. I've sat and I've watched people stand and I'm like, why? Like, you talk about people getting abuse, and I hold my hands up to you, even to other referees. I've dog abused so many referees over the years, and I've taken it back. Yes, no problem. Ultimately, in the last few years, I think that I've kind of
mellowed
a wee bit, like Wayne Manack in a wee bit, but even as like coaches, players sitting on the sideline, the fourth official, it's like, why would you sign up to stand there for 90 minutes in a firing line and literally just take hell for 90 minutes?
The problem is it switches from week to week. So 1 week you might be a referee in the Premiership, 1 week you could be a referee in a cup semi-final in the Irish Cup, and then next week you could be fourth official. It's just the way it works. Obviously the fourth official is mainly there. One of the main reasons is if the referee gets injured, somebody has to go on. So that's the reason why they're there. But yeah, it's a difficult job. And you look at some of the grounds, and you've got some of the ones, Dungannon. If you look, you've got the two benches very closely. Yeah. But also you've got a wall with the fans sitting.
Just creeping over the top.
Things like you know what I mean? We had a brilliant incident there the other week where one of the fans came down and leaned over the fence and went to give the fourth official a pair of glasses. Because they missed something, there's a pair of glasses for you. Those grounds, a game, as you talk about an assistant referee who's very close to the fans, the fourth official as well sits there and gets the abuse from everybody all around. Unfortunately, if you're going to be a Premiership, whenever we get you into this refereeing course and you're going to be the next Premiership referee, unfortunately, you have to be a fourth official sometimes.
Well, hopefully by this stage that we'll have somehow figured out how to stop managers shouting at people and players, and then I could be really good.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Good luck.
Also. So this is another thing that I want to speak on. It's obviously I've just touched on how I openly hold my hands up to it. I have, and as I say, last few years I've tried to mellow out. But
you're saying that you never did.
Maybe it's just subconsciously I'm thinking maybe I did do that. You know what I mean? But when we look at other sports and we compare other sports to football, and the amount, probably the best word to say here is respect.
Yeah,
it's non-existent.
At the top level in other sports, and we talked a wee bit before about rugby. Rugby's one of the guiding lights when it comes to respect towards referees at the top level. And you see the way they manage, and the way they manage 30 men, isn't it? 15 aside, it's 30 men. Some massive characters or massive people who are under the control of a small referee at times. They have that, and it's sometimes I also think the problem, I don't really understand. I don't really know rugby that well, but from what I gather is their rules or their laws are maybe a wee bit more black and white than what football is.
Yeah.
So the laws and the rules are maybe easier to understand and are easier to punish. And that's maybe why it's the opinion of the referee in football. They get a bit more abuse because everyone thinks. I'm not saying that makes it right, but I'm just thinking that sometimes the rules of rugby are slightly different. Now, I'm part of a sports forum in Northern Ireland where we go and we meet referees and officials from all around different sports. But the abuse at the lower levels is actually creeping in a lot more to them and a lot more through the grassroots. Maybe not as much as what it is in football, but it is a wee bit worse in the other ones. If we could get to the stage of that respect, it's also hard as well. I find it's hard sometimes. You've got people saying, how can the camera zooms into a player in the Premier League. Say we'll talk about Old Trafford, there's 85,000 people there, and the camera will zoom in where the player tells a referee they F off or something said, and they're going, look, the referee's done nothing about that. But what they don't understand as well is that player could be 30, 40 yards away in a crowd of 80,000. The referee's not going to hear it.
Yeah.
So I understand rugby gets a great name for it and the way they do it. If we can work with them and find a way that they can get the respect and how we can bring that into football, that would be a great thing. Do you ever see it coming?
No.
Not when we have the players that we have. No, it's not even that. It's a generational thing, I think, as well. We're just used to...
This is the way football was, and it is, and that's the way it is.
And it's an awful way of doing it. It's an awful way of saying it. And the fact is, it's football. It's okay to go and shout at a referee for 90 minutes. And then come and shake his hand and say, oh, you're your best mate. You've done that loads of times.
I did.
Shout at me for 90 minutes, next time over, oh, Gary, thanks very much.
Always had the decency to come over and shake your hand, but all right, mate.
Before and after.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's an awful way of looking at it and saying it's football and it's almost expected. It shouldn't be that way. But we need to get the kids, the lower ones coming through, to have that wee bit more respect and push it through. We have a campaign in the IFA at the moment of Catch Yourself On, where we're trying to promote more. So we've actually increased some of the sanctions related to some offences. So if you get sent off for a game, not that you would ever got sent off. How many times were you sent off?
Twice, actually.
Twice?
Yeah.
Do you know by who?
No, I don't actually. I was talking to Stuart King last week. He was on, and it was at Lauren. I headbutt a fella.
I went straight in there for it.
I got 8 games. So I'm back. The last game of the season, I was out for 2 months. Start of the season, like the following season, Clinwell killed me. And
so if you got sent off for violent conduct now, it's 3 games. But if you then continue abuse after you get sent off, it's an additional 10 games.
Okay.
So we've tried to say that, yes, and you get sent off, that's okay, but any additional stuff or any verbal abuse outside of what is expected in a game, there's more punishment for it.
Like, just take it and deal. Yeah.
You get sent off, you get sent off. 2 games, off you go. But if you then start screaming and shouting at the referees are going off and have to be pulled away, then there's another 10 games. So we've tried in that Catch Yourself On campaign, we're doing different ways of looking at it. We're trying to bring in match official liaison officers. Okay. Somebody who goes to the ground and meets a referee at all levels, just to say, listen, I'm here from the club. If you need him, let me know. Get that wee bit more respect between the two, so that maybe when it goes to the game, it's not as bad when it kicks off. But we've tried to get a respect campaign, a Catch Yourself On campaign, to say that, listen, we need to increase the respect. And again, everyone will give off and say respect towards referees. I'm very much of the opinion it has to go both ways. It's not just we are referees, we do what we want and we have to be respected. It's about how you also respect the clubs and respect the people that when you're there. It's a two-way thing. And if it doesn't go 2 ways, then there's no point in having it.
But I also too believe that the referees in our league are built a bit different. And this isn't me trying to justify me abusing you or whatever, but I'm like, you kind of, it's a very small place and the referees kind of everybody knows each other. So I ultimately know that at the end of the day, I know you as a person. You know me as a person, you know that's just the way he is, and he does that and he cracks on, and then after the game he's completely sweet, and then during the game you're like, Johnny, just fuck off, would you? And then I'm like, right, sweet, and then down the run after a wee while. But quite a while. I'm kind of like the situation where I'm kind of like, it's probably stuck in my head, but I think that's normal. I know him and that's fine, and I do this, and then after it's left on the pitch and that's it. And
we're such a small country, and we're going to have, you've got 12, so we have 14 Premiership referees at the moment with 12 clubs. So there's 6 referees every week during one game. Yep. So you're going to referee each club maybe 5-6 times during the season. So you're going to have that wee bit more friendship or that wee bit more of a rapport with people because you're doing them more often. It's good in a way that sometimes you'll know. What we have to remember is our referees are not full-time. So they're all working during the day. So somebody could have a bad day at home. Somebody could have a bad day at work
100%.
And then goes and does a game at night. And the referee might then react different to certain things. But also, I remember a couple of times actually asking players, are you all right? Because you go to somebody and all of a sudden on a Saturday, a player who's quiet, not yourself, but a player who was quiet, who never gave any...
You're painting me in a really bad light here. That's great, to be honest.
You get there before you go. But no, you get players who sometimes are quiet, who all of a sudden you do something and they're screaming and shouting. Yeah. Sometimes I've actually went over to people, are you all right? Because it's not like... Or you get the people who normally shout and don't shout, and you're going, again, are you all right? Like, you haven't to open your mouth.
Ultimately, you're expecting him to, and then you're like...
And then if they don't give it, you're going, listen, is everyone all right? Are you all right? A bad day? But we have to understand that our referees are not full-time. So they're not... They do a job, they go and do different jobs, and then they go and referee in a pool of people that they probably know or get... At the end of the day, how many times have you went out and you've seen a referee doing a shopping? Or you went down and you've been to a shop and you've seen a referee? We need to have that human side to refereeing, and it's something that we're trying to maybe promote and do a wee bit more with the senior panel, is the fact that we need to have that wee bit more. I was never wanting to go out and be anyone's best friend on a footballer, but what I needed is 90 minutes of friendship, shall we say, or relationship with that person to get us through the game. If we all got through that game 90 minutes and nobody was sent off, then I'm okay. Yeah. But you have that rapport for 90 minutes. Once in 90 minutes, yes, I'll talk and we'll have, but it's not like I'm trying to be anyone's best mate. So we need to have that camaraderie more. Not more, I'm not saying best friends, but have a rapport to say, listen, it's a human who's refereeing your game. Yeah, you're going to get some things wrong. More often than not, hopefully they get things right. Yeah. But there's a human to that who has to go home and will sit and think about things probably more than what a player will. So if they get a decision wrong...
They're saying, I've cost them, is that I give a penalty was that a penalty? Was it not a penalty? Was that a sending off?
The amount of times a striker will miss something from 6 yards. Again, not yourself.
I need a sharp one up here.
So, but no, the amount of times that's forgotten about whenever a referee doesn't give a penalty in the 90th minute.
Yeah.
Everyone else for that 90 minutes is grand, but it doesn't give a penalty, all of a sudden it's the referee's fault.
Post-match interviews are all
about the referee.
That was a penalty.
Sunday live, the papers,
yeah.
Everything's all now about the referee. So that referee will then dwell on that decision, maybe. That referee will then maybe...
Do you think that would that affect you, just to put it in hindsight here, if you were playing a game, 93rd minute, you didn't give a penalty, or you did give a penalty and it cost someone, you watch it back and it's the wrong decision, would that affect you in the following game?
You try not to. There's such a long time between the next games. And it's even when you're refereeing, because it's not always the 93rd, it could be the 5th minute of the game. You have something in your head and you think you've seen it. You play it over your head, going, maybe I didn't see that right. Then you have to have a trigger that you're then going to go and change and flip over. I had two referee had 2 whistles. I always carry 2 whistles just in my hand. And if I did something like that, I changed the whistle just almost in my head to restart myself and say, listen, am I on the different? That decision's gone. You can't do anything about it. You can watch it. The biggest thing that we need to do as referees is watch a decision and say, yes, I've got it maybe wrong. I could have given something else. But then you have to look at why. Was I in the wrong position? Did I get caught in play? Was I too concentrated on this? Was I thinking about this? Why have I got that wrong and not that I've got it wrong? If you know what I mean, you have to think about the reasons why. So when you go into the next game, you're then positioning yourself different, moving yourself in a different area so that it doesn't happen again.
I was actually just about to touch on this, so you've actually just brought it up for me, which is great. I feel like we're flowing here.
Yeah, we're doing well.
But referees positioning.
Yeah.
How do you find yourself in a position where you think that that's okay, or potentially in a position where that's not okay? Is it general fitness, or is it genuinely like a wee bit of both?
We have, when you talk about when you go into refereeing, we have a control path that we try to do. You have a diagonal from sort of one corner flag to the other, with your assistant's working outside right, sort of the right hand side of each half. Okay. So you're trying to work that control path. It used to be very much, whenever I was coming through, know how to referee, we'll teach you how to run. I never really got that part of teaching how to run, but fitness was a by part of refereeing.
Yeah.
Now it is be fit.
Yeah.
We'll teach you how to referee. The game has changed so much.
Huge emphasis at the minute for referees who are coming through to be at a level of fitness, or a peak level of fitness.
Look at all these European referees, all the ones doing Champions League and everyone else. They're athletes. They're all athletes, and that's the way. And as the game turns more professional, that's the way it needs to be going. They need to be in the same sort of. Unfortunately, we're not at a stage where we'll have
full-time referees
in the next so many years, but we need to have people who are athletic. It's all about fitness now. It's all about fitness and it's all about position, and that's why it's more about the fitness element of it and getting yourself and working hard at the right time to get in the right position than it is just sort of hoping you get there. If you look at it all the time, it's not about running straight into things. It's about angles.
Yeah.
If you watch a referee when a ball goes into the penalty area, it's not running straight in behind it. They'll run to the left to try and get an angle on a challenge. So it's massively now about fitness. It is a huge element of the game. That's why I stopped.
Smart.
See?
Is there an option for us to have referees in England?
No, you can only referee in one association. You can, but you'd have to move over to England.
But in terms of being full-time or having us ahead, because obviously we're miles behind when we consider that there's only 4 clubs at the minute, 3 clubs at the minute who are full-time, and none of our referees none of them are able to substantially make enough money to be full-time or anywhere close to it. So if you have a position where, I don't know, the 2 FAs were to potentially join, like not join forces, but to be like, we have because the reason why I'm actually thinking about this is you've just touched on, we have 15 Irish League referees. Surely you have to be thinking, at any stage, if something goes wrong and they drop out, you're struggling.
Yeah,
and even if that's mentally, if that's people getting abused or anything like that, for managers too, you don't have that level, and then the level drops of the game. So we need you and the other referees to continue on to do their job.
I laugh as well because everyone just thinks it's putting a referee on the pitch, and it's not as easy as that. It's not just grabbing a referee from the championship, grabbing a referee from the PIL and going. As you go through those ranks, there's a complete different style of football, a complete different change in tempo. Yeah. It's a harder game to manage when it's Premiership, the speed, the intensity, and how quickly you want to play the game. It is hard. the problem being is, and I think it's one of the reasons why the English FA are able to get more younger we get a lot of referees who come to the end of their playing career.
Yep. You're nodding here.
I'm not old.
I have no knee here. I can't even move. But
Centre circle's all right. I used it for years.
Like an anchor down.
But the English Premier League have a shining light of a full-time career.
Yeah.
So you can go into refereeing at 17, 18 and look and try and get in. It's like Select Group 1, I think, which is a championship in League 1. They're full-time referees.
Right, okay.
So they have something to aim for.
It's a job, it's a salary. They apply, they do their badges, get themselves.
You do as much as you can at the start. You've got a full-time career to go for, which is where we struggle, because we have to make refereeing at the top level to be more, how do we make it fancy? How do we make it attractive to people coming through? And until we get the full-time element of that, it's not, yes, it's okay money for what they're getting at the top level in Northern Ireland, but it's still not enough to incentivize people to come in.
I'm still giving up, so the 40 hours a week that I do in my normal 9 to 5 plus the 16 hours a week that I'm putting on top to do football on a Monday night or whatever.
And the problem in it, so yes, we can work with other associations to try and get collaborations with them, but the English FA will never let us come in and do games over. They're very protective of how they do it, and so they should be. They've got a massive, when you look at the Premier League, they've a massive show that goes out 3 times, 4 times a day sometimes, depending on how many games there is. Do you know what I mean? So they're trying to protect that, and they want to control it as much as they can, even in the likes of League 1 and League 2. The biggest problem being is, even over there, it's financial. Even if you look at here now, it's financial. The financial rewards for football are growing and growing and growing for making Europe. So it makes the job of refereeing more difficult, because there's more at stake for the clubs, which means if a referee gets something wrong, you're automatically the first person they're going to blame. So we can never get into the likes of the English FA. You'd have to go over there, move over to England, and start probably near enough at the bottom and try and work your way up again. We do some collaboration with the likes of, recently we've had Gibraltar referees over here. We've had other referees from different countries, Iceland and different countries, where we'll send referees over for an exchange. And then we get referees in exchange as well at different levels, just to give people
experience.
It's a different game. So like you go, I remember the first time I went on an exchange trip, I went to Malta.
Right.
And then you had people diving. And like, this was like, we never had diving, and like, you had to be, your leg was broken before like any moment down for it. Like, and all of a sudden there's people diving, and it was a different style of football. And it opened my eyes massively to, like, Maltese football was completely different to what we had. So get experience of going away, different countries, travel, different food, and all different experiences to try and then referee another game of football to give them more experience of different styles. We do collaborations like that, but we'll just never probably get to the stage where it's one of the big countries again. You've got to talk about VAR. Yeah, that's probably one of the questions, was it? I'm jumping in there again.
You know what? Actually, I hold this thing and I have all these questions out, and I end up never looking at it.
Never looking. But a lot of those countries use VAR, whereas we don't. So we only have 3 referees in Northern Ireland who are trained to referee with VAR. So they.
Sorry to jump in there.
Yeah.
Why?
Why do we have it?
Is it financial again?
Why do we not have VAR?
So why do we have 3 referees who can only...
Well, there's no point in us paying for them to get educated on VAR when we don't use it here. But also those 3 referees are European referees, so 2 male, 1 female, who have the potential of going and refereeing. So if you look at the qualifying rounds of Europe, Champions League qualifying throughout has VAR.
Yeah.
Everything. Qualifying round 1 of the Europa League this year has VAR. And qualifying round 3 of the Europa Conference League has VAR. So most of those games now are going to be with VARs. So
you got to jump in there, but if we qualify like we did last year, say Lauren go the whole way and end up getting into the Conference League, how do we do that? Does Windsor have to be fitted with VAR?
They bring in mobile VAR, so they're able to bring it in. They have a van that sits in the car park, and that's where the VAR room is.
Okay.
And then they bring in the wire, and they connect it all up the ground. So it's a mobile VAR.
Okay.
So all our grounds will have to be fitted for that if it ever gets to that stage, that we do have it. But those referees, our 3 ones that are trained, need to go and be able to get games in Europe. So we have to have them trained in the hope that they can go and get games in Europe. So that's why there's only 3. There's no point in putting everyone through it until we get the financial capability here of having some sort of VAR. So it's a catch-22.
When we're in Europe and we have referees and you're saying there's only 3 of them, everyone's assessed at every level.
Yeah.
It's obviously the same thing in Europe.
Yeah, so every one of our Premiership games is covered by an observer who is an ex-referee. It can be somebody like myself, Ray Crangle, who are recently out of the game, to some of the older ones, who will be an ex-referee and come out. We've tried to change the marking system at the Premiership this year. It used to be very much mark-orientated, key match incidents. Did you get a penalty wrong? Did you get a free kick? Key match incidents. Right. We've tried to take that away from the observer. Yep. So we have a panel of 3 that watch the KMIs, or the key match incidents. So there's 2 that referee in background, and with 1 ex-player who sits on that panel to give a different insight, as a player insight into what decision is, and is it right or is it wrong. So what we want that observer now to do on a game is go and coach more than be stuck doing mark. So they'll go and look how they run. Because you laughed at them there a minute ago. How they
don't have funny runs like
having their stuff. They've got different ways of movement about the pitch, how they dealt with players, how they dealt with certain incidents, how they shoot cards, did they get the cards right at the right time. So we're trying to make that more of a coaching to make them better, and then take the key match incidents away and look at them elsewhere. But every match in the Premiership is covered by an observer. And then when you go into Europe, you have an observer from a different country. So if our referees go and referee in Europe, they'll have an observer from the Faroes or an observer from France, Spain, somewhere else, who'll come and watch them and then give them a mark at the end of it.
So, out of curiosity, how do we fare when we're in Europe with these different things? Is our standard of refereeing between those 3 who are technically our elite referees, are they on par with referees?
No, they do. So we have 4 FIFA referees. We have 4 male FIFA referees and 1 female FIFA referee. Okay, so the 4 male referees, we've had 1 who's went and done Spain and Germany under 21s. And this year we've 1 who's mini tournaments. They compete well. We have 2 ones Jamie and Ben, who are the 2 sort of main ones that they're the age where we're trying to push more. We're trying to give them more of an opportunity to go out and get more games. But when they go to Europe, sometimes there's a wee bit of a change in refereeing style, because we still like a wee bit of physicality here in our league compared to what is in Europe. So they have to change slightly. But we fare well. They're doing games. They get games a lot. So it's just we need one of them to push massively if we can. Give them every opportunity to go and get a major finals or do some sort of major tournament, that also shines a light on to younger ones coming in to say, listen, we can do it. We do well in Europe, we do well, and we seem to get the games okay.
It is interesting when you do consider everything that has to go with refereeing, but the mental side of things is tough, and you would know that firsthand.
Oh, massively, and it's the amount of times everyone always says that you get your bag and you throw it away and go on a mock on back. We've all had moments of refereeing where your names and your names in the back of a paper, your pictures on the back of a paper on Sunday because of a decision that went wrong or something that happened. So it's a massive, and it's something that we've tried to do more with our Premiership referees in the top 3 divisions to make them a better person, shall we say. So we try to do a wee bit more around psychology, a wee bit around mental well-being and how to deal with those type of scenarios, so that whenever they have it, it's not just about the on-field decision. It's helping that person physically and mentally afterwards to cope with the abuse and sometimes the crap that comes with it.
What is, if you're in those meetings, and I hope this isn't too personal to ask, but what would be one of the major factors that people would come to you with and say, like, this is the reason why they're struggling?
It's abuse, and most of it's probably now, if you talk about it, is social media abuse. Most of it is you can try and stay away from it as much. I always knew how well I did on a Saturday by the amount of messages I got on a Sunday. Because if I woke up on a Sunday morning and I had no messages, you've done all right because nobody's talking about you. But if you woke up on a Sunday morning and all of a sudden everyone's sending you photographs of the paper, everyone's sending you clips of this here, you know you've got something.
Down there, number 3.
The lowest I ever got in the paper was a 2. 2 out of 3 is not bad, I think. That's all. But and that's social media abuse, and people are very quick at sending it to you, whether they think they're doing the right thing at times and forwarding it on, so and I can see, yes, it's good to know about it, but that social media side of things and media at all is just where it's hammered at a referee, and
half the time you don't even know who it is. This is one,
and that's the scary thing. And even when you talk about it with the kids and stuff, like, you've got people who are going to the kids, my kids, saying stuff to them about you refereeing. And you know what I mean? And you're going like, what's it got to do with them? It's got nothing to do with them. Like, they don't even care about it. They don't even, like, kids didn't really pay much attention about the refereeing, apart from whenever they were getting told about how bad you were, or how this happened, or how that happened. So it's the social media. And again, that's a societal thing. And that's a thing that's just grown over the last few while.
And it doesn't seem to be getting...
It's getting worse if it's getting in. And that's the problem. Social media and the media side is something that we would struggle with most.
So when we look at the professionalism around refereeing and around playing and the game at the minute and where it's going, you think that ultimately it needs to be a big change in clubs to help referees?
Yeah, we need to work together. And this is the massive thing. We as referees are not out there to ruin the game. We're not out there to say this is what we want and this is how we're going to do it. We need to work with the clubs to even figure out even for next season, we need to look at the clubs and go, what's happened last season that shouldn't be in the game? Additional time, something that they're talking about. Why Scouts being great. Dead ball time.
Yeah.
Dead ball time. Yeah. It's all of a sudden now, dead ball time. How much ball is it? So we need to work on how we can get that better, because we need the image of our game. If we are able to promote and do well for our game locally, the more rights it'll get sold on TV, the more rights it'll get there, more coming in from advertising, more coming in. If we're all able to work together to make that, then all the things that's going to happen is it's just going to make the game grow. Yeah. If it makes the game grow, then hopefully the referees will go with it. We'll get full-time players, clubs, referees, and then everything benefits. We're not here to stand alone and say this is how we're doing it and this is what we want to do. We'll work with the clubs as much as we can to make things better for the future.
Have you spoke to clubs around players who are potentially coming to the end of their career, like myself, who's, well, I don't know,
finish,
hopefully, hopefully not. You know what I mean? But I spoke to you at length, and I did mention this at the start of the podcast, that there's a fast track thing, and you obviously want ex-players and these different people to come in. What is your strategy to get those people to commit? Because ultimately, for me, it's something that I would do. I would probably do it out of probably to try and help you out, but like, right, I've abused you that much, I would do it. But it does interest me.
Wait to be this.
It does interest me to severely do it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, it would be interesting for me to understand the other side of the game. But for other players, how can we potentially help get those players to come on board?
We need to work with the association. There's a rule at the moment saying you can't be a referee and a player at the same time. All right, so you can't be a registered player and a registered professional referee and claim a fee in the same year. So we're trying to get rid of that, because what I want to say to you as a player is you're playing on a Saturday. Yep. So why can't you, well, maybe not on a Friday night, might not be the best idea. No. You're playing on a Friday night, why not go on a Saturday and referee a game somewhere?
Yeah.
Or Monday nights there's a reserve leagues, or there's under 18s, there's under 16s. So while you're playing, why can you not go? How much would a kid who's under 14s, under 16s at a club enjoy the fact that Johnny McMurray's coming down and doing referee? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's just another line of abuse, to be honest. you get enough from the fans, and then some wee 16-year-olds absolutely nailing you.
It's humbling. When I'm a 16-year-old, kind of the truth. But how good would it look if a Premiership player?
But it's not even, I get where you're coming from here, but it's more along the side for me that these people could ultimately be working towards getting to this level. Yeah. So for a year, they might know that their last contract's done.
Yeah.
And they are going to be up in May. And they could spend all year working with you towards being like, right, from May you're going to be in, and then you're going to carry on. Is that an option? Can they work towards it even while they're still in contract?
We would like to get them some games. So if we can get them games at any level while they're still playing, kids games, something else to get them in, get them a wee better practice. So when it comes to May, they're then not just starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're not just going in and just refereeing the game for the first time. They've done a few games beforehand and maybe going, yes, I need to do this. So whenever they start, they're going.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So if we can work with them there and try and get that build up until they do finish, and then we can push them on from there. Do you have to play the game to be a good referee? Some people will say yes, some people will say no. There's no real sort of scientific fact behind it. But as much as we can do to get the ball rolling before they finish, because once they finish, then there might be other things that they're looking at doing, or if we can get them started before they finish, that would be great. Is it a fast track? There's probably not really what we would call a fast track, but somebody who comes in and shows potential at any level will push on.
Yes.
So if we've got an ex-player who's shown great potential, by all means, 3-4 years. Whenever I started refereeing, I only done a year and a half at junior football, a year at the intermediate leagues, and then I was in the 3rd division. I was in Championship 2 at the time. So it was quite a quick progression because it was so good. It was quite a quick progression because there was nobody else. Because it came in at the right time.
I was like,
so for anyone, there can be a progression, and if we can get a player who comes in and shows great, then yes. And I was talking, and I'll not say the name, but I was talking to an ex-player who went into coaching, but was talking about, yes, when I come to the end, and he said, but I've played for a lot of the clubs in the league, how could I referee in it?
Yeah.
But you're going, that affiliation only lasts for so long. We're such a small country. You can't say because you played for Ballymena, because
I've played for everyone, so I would be able to do it.
you can referee them all, it's okay.
Send me to England.
But you can't say just because you play for that one club, you can never referee them. Surely there has to be a stage where 4 or 5 years down the line, you've no real affiliation.
You don't care.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
But then again, do you think that other people would understand that? Or like the likes of yourself being at the top would be like getting this abuse from the likes of me going, well, he's played for Lauren, blah, 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 and he's played for Ballymena, and then they're going to referee each other. He's going to favour someone. It's
once you get
a
bad decision against them, then it's all right. But yeah, you're going to get that. But then that's for us to manage within the refereeing department to say, that's not the case, this is what it is, and for us to then manage that side of it and trying to push the public side that way, you know what I mean? The publicity has to be from us to say, no, that's not the case. He's played for every club in the Irish League. Johnny's all right. He can referee.
He's all right. He doesn't
hit them all as much.
He doesn't care about any of them.
But it's up to us then to manage that and us to try and push that. We can't have, what we're very good in Northern Ireland is putting barriers in people's way of progression. And anything in life, we are very good at trying to say people can't do it.
Like, nope.
No.
Yeah.
First, no, we can't do it. Why not? No. And it's one thing I keep on asking, why? A lot of times, just the best question, why? Why can I not? So we have to say there has to be a progression of some description. We have to say at a certain stage, that line of you play for that club is gone. So we have to then say, what can we do to make the players come into the game and stay refereeing it? And there has to be something that we can work out, that we can get there.
One of the things that I think about as a referee or potentially being a referee is my style of refereeing and what I see fit in the game that I would enjoy personally would not ultimately fit into the guidelines of football today. So how would we combat me being like, I love a wee 2-footer here, you know what I mean?
I love a wee
so
2-footer.
Like,
then
it's like, then you've no need. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, not even that bad, but I'm like, you think back in the day where tackles were anytime went, and then now it's like, can you jump and touch a goalkeeper when he's in the air? Do you know what I mean? There's a wide variety.
We have to get away, and we have to look at, when I referee was very much, I like the physicality side of it. I wouldn't have minded players coming together as long as it was, I like that side of the game.
Yes.
But you have to get round away from as much of that. And one of the things that's doing my head in at the moment is going to grounds and listening to things is, back in the day, that was a great challenge. Yeah. As his legs broken in two and he's lying on the ground. That wasn't even a free kick in my day.
That shirt off and get up.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So we have to understand that style of football, yes, we can still have some physicality. We can still have more physicality than some European leagues, but there's certain things in our game that we need clamped out. A perfect example is Lauren played in the first European game. There was a tackle in it where Conor McKenna was sent off, where he just kicked the player. In Europe, everyone else sees that as a red card. Everyone else sees that, you just kicked the player, red card. Whereas we're still thinking, it's only a wee trip, it's only a yellow. So we need to get away from, there's a lot of things that will happen. If you showed our 12 Premiership managers some clips, they will be along the lines of the European style, because it's now more protecting players. I need to protect it's a more of a full-time game. I'm paying more money for players nowadays. I need that player to be fit on a game on a Saturday. And if there's a challenge going to go in to take him out of a game, I want that out of the game. So,
but then again, if that comes to it, and then their player does that and they get sent off, he's come to you saying, no chance, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? So it very quickly changes.
We need to have, it's not overnight of saying we're all of a sudden going to clamp out on all tackles. We need to get a gradual stage off. We need to not get rid of physicality, but where it's a chance of injuring a player. And this is a big thing UEFA talk about, is the consequence of a tackle. It's okay jumping, shouldn't say this, it's okay jumping in 2 feet if you're nowhere near another player.
Yeah.
But as soon as you have any chance of hitting or making contact with another player, that's when it's an offence.
But they also look at your, like, they say reckless and they say your intent. Yeah. And intent to me is so widespread, because my intent of me hurting someone is me pinpoint and hitting someone, whereas my intent to win a ball, whether that's like what do you say, forceful.
Yeah.
Like with force. How do you weigh that up? Because
there's massive indicators to look out for. So
your face.
The gritted teeth coming into the tackle. It's normally get away sign they're trying to do some arms. The 2 feet of lunge.
You actually see me running. He's going to do it. Just blow it up.
There's indicators as a referee. Somebody who goes in with a straight leg stud showing, that is an indicator that there's something going wrong. Jumping in the air, if you jump in the air and close your fist, you're making a weapon. So there's indicators for referees to look out for when a challenge happens. Intent isn't really as much in the law anymore. It's about the consequence of a tackle, the consequence or the potential harm that you can do to another player. And that's the biggest thing in our game is there's so many full-time clubs and players on wages that they don't want them injured. They want them playing. So if we can we need to protect the players. And it's something that we need to do as referees, but the clubs also need to understand is that has to go league-wide. It can't just be for the 3-4 full-time teams. We can't punish anyone who tackles their player. It has to be if their player tackles somebody else as well in the same manner.
This is what's going to
happen. And it's a gradual thing, but we need to get to that stage.
Do you think that ultimately rolling out those videos that you show us for fans would benefit?
Yeah. And I've always said I'll talk to anybody that wants to talk about refereeing and what we do. It's not, we don't make it up. It's our just go, I'll go.
Well,
I refereed every Friday night. It was all right. Yeah. And if we can educate again, it's about this whole old style refereeing and they don't like whenever we try and bring in something new. If we're able to go and educate as many and show those, is it like, so if you look at like, is it the VAR centre and the mic'd up referees and stuff they do in England where they do a show? Something like that there. You could turn this into a refereeing podcast and we could show clips and then say,
I hope not.
Okay.
People may not listen to me. Do you know what I mean?
I was going to say.
Yeah.
If we can educate as many people as we can, then that's all we need. If we get as much education, then hopefully the abuse at the other end of it isn't as bad.
I do ultimately think that would be a really good scenario. I did actually want to try and get some of the clips and put them on.
You wanted to get my bad ones, but you couldn't find any?
No. I can find them. I can get Alan to do that. There's no bar. Man's a genius. But being able for people to see and have a go and me sit here and be able to show that on that screen while you say that's the reason why, and then me be like, well, I don't think that. Even for those people who are out there watching this, they'd be like, I agree with him, but that may not be the complete rules of the game, and I think that would benefit a lot of people.
What we need to do is, we get a lot of European clips sent us about stuff from European football, European leagues. What we need to do is relate it more to, we need to show more and probably relate to our own league and why this card was given or why this decision was given or this decision was wrong and it should have been this because of this. We need to use more of our own clips and we need to get more of our own ones doing good things, bad things, that we can use those because then they're able to relate more to it's our league and not just...
Well, the likes of the McKendry incident, you go, Connor done this in Europe. It's clear to see what he done. He kicked out.
And that's why it's red.
And it's straight red.
And that's what we need to do. It would be good have something along those lines. Whether it be once a year, twice a year, we do some sort of program, some sort of thing where we talk about certain incidents. Then all we're doing is educating. And then hopefully it makes things a bit better for referees.
No, well, if it's something that I could do, I would love to help because I do genuinely think that people need to understand. I probably need to understand too, so I'd rather loads of people sit with me and me pretend I didn't even.
I thought so too.
Yeah. I agree with him. I agree with Andrew. One of the last things I want to touch on is we've started the podcast, we've tried to go viral a few times, and the only person in this room who has went viral is actually you.
For all the wrong reasons.
Well, I mean, maybe for the right reasons, maybe for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. You were there that day. I think we're at Ballymena.
I think I might have. I was probably on the bench at that stage. I think I was ready to go to Larne. I was ready to leave.
Okay.
Just before COVID.
Yeah, that was 2018. Was it 2018? I had your cup final. 18. Yeah. I might have said something that I shouldn't have said. But again, it's an interesting one because we're a very working man's game here, and there's a lot of different players, and there's a lot of different styles of how you can talk to people.
Yeah.
There's certain things you can say to certain people. I'm always very much one, I speak to you, or you speak to me.
Yeah. Which is
polite and mannerly.
I was going to say horrendous, but you took a word.
Polite and mannerly. But there is certain people in the league that you can't talk in the same way you would talk to other people. So I would always try and use the same sort of way. And in that one incident, I never even realised. I love it. And the reason why I love the clip is because it takes away from the fact I just missed a red card.
Right.
I should have sent Jim Irvin off for a tackle on Jamie Mulgrew at the time. I yellow carded it and turned out it was completely wrong. But
Right.
no one ever looks
No
at
one
it anymore
cares.
because
It
I
was
just want to look at the.
To be fair, it's zoomed right in. It's right there, like it's clear as day.
It's interesting because we went out for cup finals. A lot of referees will get together and we'll go out for a few drinks. We done the game and we had a couple of drinks in the change room. Thought nothing of it. We then went and met some referees in Belfast and we ended up in the bar. The four of us from the team from the referee game that day, the team, were in the bar. Everyone was okay. It was quiet.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everybody else who'd been out all day had come in and it was a wee bit louder. And they kept on saying the phrase. And I never thought anything of it. I was like, yeah, okay.
What he did.
And then all of a sudden, I said, hold on, why are you all saying this? Have you not seen the WhatsApp group? And I says, there was about 50 to 100 messages in it.
Cool.
I didn't look at it. Go back and look at the video. Go back and look at the video. And I went in and went, oh, that could be
Clear
problems. The funniest thing is the player who I was talking to about 6 months later comes up and says, I love that video. That was great. That video. It was you I was talking to. Was it? Didn't even know that. But yeah, listen, it wasn't directed in a direct manner to somebody.
Yeah.
It wasn't in a derogatory way to someone. It was just me using the local terminology and trying to calm things
Calm the game.
But
then again, once you watch I think once you're from here and you know what way it's going around, you know exactly what it's for. But it just shows you the power of media.
And the funny thing was, and it's not trying to say it was good, the positive remarks that I got on social media at the time was actually surprising.
Yeah.
Because it was all deemed to be a referee in a human way, a referee dealing with something in a human, a truly human side of refereeing.
But it very much is.
Yeah. I would love to say that's what I meant. That's what I planned the whole time. That's what I was.
I always wanted to be an internet sensation.
I always wanted to have that. I tried to get it on YouTube because you get on YouTube after so many views, you get paid.
Yeah.
It was on Twitter and it didn't get out.
Oh, did it? But it ended up with something stupid like.
The kids kept on telling me there was 8 million at one stage views.
Mental.
I think 6 were from me.
Here, did you see this?
But yeah, no, it was mad, and it's still even now. I was away in a European game one time, and we were sitting with the observer from Denmark, he was, and he sat down, he goes, I Googled you. And I was like, oh no. Brilliant.
I enjoyed it.
But like yes, it was taken in the context that was meant to be taken. It was not derogatory anyway. It wasn't meant in that way. And thankfully it showed a sort of human side is.
It's a very small thing. I think personally, the fact that it came out like that, and when you look back at it, I actually just thought it was normal, because there's a lot of referees before you who have told me that I'm shit, that I couldn't hit a barn door and I should be giving up years before this, and they've just recently retired, and they've always had personalities which I respected more, and I think that's why I end up respecting you a lot more, because that's just who you were. You were just a person who was refereeing a game and showed your emotions, and that was it. I would prefer that than me going away, speak to a referee from somewhere else, and it just be dead. There'd be nothing there.
We still want a relationship. You want to have a relationship. I mean, like it's a working relationship. I laugh as well because I seen on Twitter or something there the other day, there was a game, Crusaders against Glenavon, which was an Irish Cup semi-final. So many years ago, and it was how many years it was, and in that game, I remember Kevin Braniff was playing at the time, and Kevin Braniff gave me a go. They were getting beat 2-3-0 or something by Crusaders, and he gave a go at me. He screamed at me, and he says, yourself, aren't you? He went on to score 4 and they won 4-3. And he came up to me after the game and goes, you can call me shit anytime. But it's that side of it where I'm getting I'll give a wee bit back at times. I know hopefully I never cross the line with something, but it's always having that wee bit to give back to show that personality. And if you're going to give it, I'm happy enough. I was happy enough to take a wee bit of abuse every now and then, just as long as you were willing to get a wee bit back as a win.
And it had that mutual respect.
That's all I was trying to do.
Well, listen, I don't want to keep you too long. This has been fantastic. It's been a great insight, the refereeing and what you do now and different things and the way you think it's going, mate. So genuinely, thank you for coming on. I hope that we can get you on again, because as I say, I would like to go through some of the clips. I think it'll be funny. I think it'll be interesting for people to watch that and ultimately see your views on it and how refereeing should be compared to how it actually is down the line.
And then we can get some of your clips when we got refereeing.
Well, maybe whenever I'm able. But as I say, this is something that I will do for you. I do have an interest in it myself. I would like to know the laws of the game as well. So I'm not just saying this for no reason, but genuinely, thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Guys, join us next week for our next guest, who is a ex-Irish League manager. Very insightful and has a wonderful haircut along with a wonderful beard. See you all very soon.